Jeff Butler, the creative director from and Dave Georgeson, I don't know what he's talking about, I'm kidding. He's the director of development for the EverQuest franchise.
So, welcome everyone to Building Tools in the Future. I've met a bunch of you out here throughout the course of the show already, and I told you a little bit about what's coming. In this panel, we are going to talk about the future of the building tools, what's coming down the pipe. It starts off with the things in the near term, and it goes deeper into the future as we go into the panel. Bear with me for 1 minute, if you will, to make sure that everything works when I click this button. There we go. Awesome. So, this panel is about what is and what might be coming in the future of the building tools. Some of the stuff we're going to talk about is already in progress today, and some of it is theoretical. We'll try to call that out as we roll forward. Everything we discuss here is a feature that we either think could be better than it currently is, or something that we think is going to be needed as we continue to work on EverQuest Next. As a reminder for everyone, it's our goal to improve upon the genre of building games in general, and to do that, we do not wish to make a complex 3D modeling program like Maya or any of its ilk. To be clear, this is always intended to be a game rather than an application. And to that end, we always try to apply the rule that a tool or feature that we put in the game be easy to learn, but challenging to master, so that the people who consider themselves master builders today, the people who unravel the secrets of the game, still have something to chew on, something that is meaningful, but that a 10-year-old child who's very interested in the game coming from another building game, or anyone here who doesn't currently consider themselves a master builder, finds it accessible when they're working with our tools. And that's incredibly important, because those tools are how we are creating Landmark and how we are going to create EverQuest Next. There are no other tools that will become a part of that world, save for the ones that we collectively use and create, and what we talk about today. So, it's time for us to update the UI. There's a lot of things about the current UI that we like, but it could take up a lot less space. It should also be genre agnostic, because as you know, Landmark isn't simply a fantasy-themed game. When designing those improvements, we looked at a number of sources that we felt kind of exemplified the goals that we had in mind. These design ideas influence us, and in general, it's because they're familiar, clean and simple, and very easy to read. So, the straightforward approach and simplicity keeps the emphasis on the game world itself, right? We want to keep eyes up, not eyes on the interface, right? We want the viewer not mired down by what they're seeing in the interface. We want him immersed in the game, and UI needs to be as transparent as humanly possible. So that's a goal that we're trying to engineer as we move forward. So, this hotbar, which is greatly expanded here, so please don't panic and think that it's going to take up all your screen space. I zoomed it in really, really far. This, in general, is a rough concept that meets our goals. I'm going to be showing a lot more of this interface and other pieces of it later. But first I wanted to mention a very important part of Landmark development. It's kind of helped shape our design of the UI and the building tools going forward. And it's kind of relevant to a lot of the people that I've already talked to so far. And that is the fact that Landmark and EQM are being openly developed with our players, as everyone here knows. No one we're aware of is actually working on a game which contains the tools to make the game itself, and where those tools are a primary component of gameplay, right? It is an unprecedented thing as far as we're currently aware. So, while SOE is certainly the place to create a game like that, like EverQuest, we expect that there's going to be many things that we, both players and developers, are going to collectively learn during this process. Everyone that I've talked to here over the course of the show so far, we've kind of shared that realization where we are iterating on everything that we're creating here, and both the players and the developers are learning as we move forward. Because this is effectively an unprecedented thing, we know that we're going to have a lot to learn. There's going to be emergent behaviors and emergent technology that arises from what we're working on. So, first, it's pretty important to define a term. Now, what we're going to talk about, voxel. This is not a word that we made up as developers. It's not an intent that Dave, or Darren, or Terry, or Steve, or Rosie and I ever engineered into the system that we were creating. It's kind of an example of how the players are creating the game alongside us. We didn't make the voxel answers, we just created a game world where they had an opportunity to exist. We didn't provide a definition or make up that word. That was created by players, created and defined by players. And right now, as we said before, it's not easy to understand voxelmancy, and we would like that to change. So, it is too arcane. This is the definition of voxelmancy as provided by the player. When I asked the question, very few people raised their hands and said that they considered themselves voxelmancers. We know that it's not easy, and we would like that to change. And we're going to be talking about that here in a couple of different ways. So, effectively, voxelmancy is an arcane craft. Our goal isn't to remove it from the game world or destroy it. Our goal is to demystify it. So, right now, voxelmancers are kind of like the Jedis from the launch of Star Wars Galaxies. They've invested tons of time to learn the secrets of the game, right? They've shared those with the community, but right now they're incredibly rare. Part of the awe surrounding them kind of comes from the how did they do that mentality, right? We're aiming for more of the Jedi experience from a game like The Force Unleashed, where everyone starts off with awesome powers, they're easy to use, and you can immediately do really cool looking stuff. Although, of course, we want there to be a challenge for people as they move forward, as they learn. So, we don't want the barriers to be the engine itself. We want them to be your imagination. We love the emergent elements of Landmark that we've seen so far, and the amazing things that players have been able to create, and how they've educated everyone within the community in those new techniques that have been discovered, both by videos, even people on the development team like Emily who have worked on demystification videos, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about how we want the game itself to help you demystify these things. We want everyone who wants to be able to be a master builder to have a clear path to success. So one way that we want to improve the game is to create a local interface. It's all about bringing the power of the voxel to the people.
Ooh.
Now, this is shrunk down to approximately how big it would be in a game, let's just say. When I click it again, it should expand. Now, what this is about a dynamic UI based on the currently selected and active mode of tool. Everything's clickable. When you choose a tool, the shortcuts that are associated with that tool can get lost, and all the tool functionality displays for every selection. So the days of random keys scattered around the keyboard or a particular key that most people aren't familiar with being forgotten should go away. All of those conceptually awkward things, like the dance that you have to play between tab and tilde to cycle through your rotations and orientations, those things should go away as well. Or if they don't, they should be clearly defined in an interface like the one that you see here today. Just for example, how many people know what happens when you have a prop on your cursor and you press the key button? So don't be embarrassed. The reason why you shouldn't be embarrassed is that there were a lot of people on our development team who did not know what happens when you press that button. And it kind of got called out because at one point in time when I was working my presentation, I just turned around and kind of yelled at the room, how many people know what P does? The prop button. It makes the prop either stand straight up, like